We welcome you back. I'm Rick Sanchez. Every day that this oil gushes into the Gulf, the rumblings grow louder in Washington. And today, the president did his best to dispel accusations that he was not in charge and in control.
The American people should know that from the moment this disaster began, the federal government has been in charge of the response effort. Make no mistake, BP is operating at our direction. Every key decision and action they take must be approved by us in advance. This has been our highest priority since this crisis occurred. Personally, I'm briefed every day, but there shouldn't be any confusion here. The federal government is fully engaged, and I'm fully engaged.
By the way, the president said today that he's so in charge, so fully engaged. He even used his daughter, Malia, to make a point, to make the case that this spill is the first thing that he thinks about every single day. Historian Doug Brinkley is back with us tonight, along with CNN's political analyst, Roland Martin, and CNN senior political analyst, David Gergen. Guys, I can't start this conversation without asking you about the developments that we have tonight. Because if this thing continued on schedule and was working as well as at 3 or 4 hours ago some suspected it was, then we might be looking at a scenario where, hallelujah, the thing finally gets plugged, they throw in the concrete, and maybe there's a respite politically. But they've stopped this thing twice tonight, and it's starting to become very suspicious as to whether or not they're going to continue this operation, and if so, how long it's going to take. Has the game changed, David?
I don't think it's changed, but I think if this doesn't work, it's going to change. You know, they always said it was a 60 to 70% chance of success. If this does not work, if it works, terrific. We're all going to be full of relief.
Absolutely.
But if it doesn't work, this ratchets up to a whole new level and does demand, I think, stronger and tougher leadership by the White House and by the federal government.
But here's the real question, Rick.
Go ahead.
We're saying that it demands stronger leadership. I understand that in terms of overseeing. But the federal government, clearly, they're not sitting on a magic bullet where they actually have the technology to actually stop this. And that is, so the problem here, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about Apollo 13. Just imagine if that was a 24-hour cable news cycle when Apollo 13, when they were trying to figure out how to get our astronauts back. The reality is, Rick, is they don't know. So they are literally trying to figure out on the fly, the government and BP, to figure out how to get this done.
But
That's why it's so crazy.
But sometimes it's, you know, it's what you do in terms of appearance. It's standing before, it's, you know, when George Bush grabbed that bullhorn in downtown New York, where the buildings once stood and sounded robust, like he was in charge. He probably didn't have all the answers as to what was going to go on in Afghanistan and Iraq at that moment, but it seemed to validate him. This president, with this crisis, has not had a bullhorn moment. Is that right, Doug Brinkley?
I think that's correct. I think the problem that the president's getting into, and I think it was great that he did a press conference today, he either dismissed or fired the head of MMS, Elizabeth Birnbaum, which was a step in the right direction. He called a moratorium on doing more offshore, particularly this summer up in the Arctic. Shell is not going to be drilling. Things are happening, but the perception and the anger level of the American people is growing, and it's because BP's not trusted. When Tony Hayward said it was a drop in the bucket in the sea in the Gulf of Mexico, when BP said it had such low figures, nobody can be following this crisis and say BP isn't constantly minimizing and misleading the American public. That puts pressure on President Obama because, as Roland said, we can't plug the well. Only BP can. But the president's got to show a determined leadership and also has to start containing this. We need to get more National Guard down there, perhaps have the Southern Command of General Ken Keane, who did an excellent job with the 82nd Airborne in Haiti. We've got to look at this as a serious attack on American soil. All of the outrage is coming out of Louisiana for a reason.
You have 3 issues, Rick. You have 3 issues, okay? The primary issue is we don't have, the federal government does not have the answers to solve the leak. So, I mean, that's A. The second issue that you really have is... No, I got you. Follow me here. The second flank that you have is you really deal with the PR issue. When you had BP, frankly, that did not tell people, they actually stopped this procedure. They told John King, hey, maybe we should have done that. The third piece is the political angle. So the problem is, as long as A still is there, you can try to minimize it all you want to. You can try to say cleanup. You can try to say a PR initiative. But at the end of the day, unless you stop it, the rest of the stuff is meaningless.
But even a card, even an ace that was handed to him today, most people today looked at the firing of the MMS director, Elizabeth Birnbaum, and said, wow, the president went out there and did something based on what we've been reading that was a problem with that agency.
Right.
And two sources are telling CNN that she was indeed fired. When the president's asked, Mr. President, Mr. Gravitas, in this moment, did you fire that person because they weren't getting the job done? Listen to his answer. Play that, Lucas, if you got it.
Elizabeth Birnbaum resigned today. Did she resign? Was she fired? Was she forced out? And if so, why? And should other heads roll as we go on here?
I found out about her resignation today. Ken Salazar has been in testimony throughout the day, so I don't know the circumstances in which this occurred.
That's crazy.
David, in the same breath that the president said he's in charge of this operation and has been from the very beginning, he comes back and said one of the persons who's the director of the most important agency dealing with this was fired or maybe quit. He doesn't know. He didn't find out because somebody else did it.